truth for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we've got Bob Savage here as well.
Yes, remotely over here.
Yep, remotely over here. Yep, so Bob's in studio, I'm in my office studio here. And how was your weekend, Bob?
It was good. It was very nice. I like these little, hints of spring that we're getting.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I got a chance to walk the dog yesterday without, having to climb over snow mounds, and the sun was just awesome. So
still listening for the first red-winged blackbirds. Haven't heard any yet.
Oh no, I haven't heard anything like that. But I was just enjoying the sunshine and the warmer weather for sure. So I did this thing this morning because I didn't want to be uneducated on what's going on with the Democratic debate. And there were so many memes and stuff like that. I decided I would listen to the debate this morning, which was about 2 hours. So it was pretty lengthy. And I gotta say, and you guys might, you'll feel however you want to feel about it. I think everybody should go watch it. I think the entertainment value was pretty good on it for sure.
Well, do tell. What was entertaining about it?
Well, let me first let you guys know who maybe didn't watch it, who aren't following the process. I like to follow the process because I like to hear where people stand on things. I like to hear what they're saying on the record, and also I just like being able to talk about it. So there are now 6 candidates that are being included in the debate. So Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg. I can never pronounce it.
Buttigieg, I think it is.
Yeah, Buttigieg. There you go. Joe Biden, former vice president. Mike Bloomberg, former mayor of New York City, and Senator Klobuchar from Minnesota. So the first thing I'm going to say about this is it's kind of nice having less candidates because their personalities kind of shine through a little bit more, and you get a chance to actually just hear a little bit more from the candidates. But I will say the whole first hour was basically like most of the time. I think I'm sure somebody's got like a little time tracker and they can tell you how much time was spent talking about each subject. The whole first hour, I feel like they just spent attacking each other.
There wasn't a pile on to Bloomberg.
Yeah, I would say Bloomberg and also Bernie as well. I think they were the two taking the brunt of the majority of the attacks, which, if you look at polling and stuff, makes sense because they're the two that are really leading. I think the rest of the candidates, they're starting to feel nervous, they're worried, and they think that their way to win the heart of the American Democrats is to verbally assault each other and attack each other. And who knows, maybe that's the truth. I don't know. I would have liked to spend my time differentiating myself, showing why I'm a better candidate, and kind of like ignore this back and forth bantering and attacking. Although there were certainly times that it was definitely warranted. Like I think that it's really important that the candidates call each other out when they're lying, which there was, no surprise there, a lot of that going on as well. But the other thing that I found really interesting was that this debate, they talked about maybe 2 or 3 issues total in the 2 hours. But what do you think their number one selling point that was talked about the most during this debate is?
defeating Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, that's it. Kind of like the the whole thing was kind of like, hey, maybe you think I suck, but I'm the one who's gonna beat Trump, so you should choose me
Right.
anyways.
And to what end? I mean, what is the so? Let's assume, God forbid, a scenario where one of them actually wins the general election. What do you propose to do for the American people? Other than we know that Bernie Sanders wants to completely dismantle the American economy and turn it into basically a pseudo communist state.
Yeah, yeah. Which, by the way, I think it was Bloomberg flat out called him a communist, like during the debate, and the room got quiet. Like it was actually pretty awesome because he was like, "Yeah, you're just trying to kill capitalism, like with these communist policies," and like the room went quiet, and then some people started booing and stuff. So I actually appreciated that Bloomberg was willing to just stand up and say that, like, and he's kind of like a rich and powerful guy, right? So he can probably get away with just about anything he wants to say, anyways. But I don't know that anybody had kind of done that before. You see it on social media. People say, "Oh, these are communist policies. These are socialist policies." No, Bloomberg was like, "Hey, like you're a communist. Cut it out." Like this is some of the stuff I'm talking about where I say the entertainment value was pretty good in my opinion, because a few of the candidates, mostly Bloomberg and Buttigieg, um, those were the two that I think were willing to just say what's actually going on. And they were willing to call out the other candidates on their crap and just say, "Hey, like you're wrong, or you're saying this thing and you're lying about it, or even better, you say you oppose this thing, yet you vote for it every time around. Like what makes this time differently?" Um
Well, this
and the
this
re
race piles ironies on ironies. First of all, it's when you have the spectacle of that debate, and I have not watched the whole thing, but I've seen parts of it. It's ironic that the party that conducts a presidential debate like that calls Trump mean. That's irony number
mm,
one.
yep.
Irony number two is that the party that's constantly alleging, and now we're in Russia 2.0 apparently, that's constantly accusing Donald Trump of having inappropriate links to Russia, has the leading candidate who honeymooned in Moscow and who and
Sure.
who is and who has openly embraced communism.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you know what's really interesting too? I'm going to actually, in the next segment, talk about the accusations against Bloomberg and the accusations against Bernie specifically in this debate. But one of the things was that all of the candidates just about came out and said like, "Hey, Bernie, your supporters are just like vicious. Like they're like attacking people and they're doing this and they're doing that." And Bernie's like kind of tries to skate by it by saying, "Well, I can't control the actions of other people." And Buttigieg goes like, "No, like you're a leader. You lead these people. That speaks to your leadership. Like if your people are being violent and attacking and assaulting other people with their words and their actions and all of this, like they're doing it on behalf of you as their leader. Like you need to address this issue." And Bernie then kind of says, "Well, I mean, I'm not saying that this is true, but I'm also saying that it's not true. Like maybe because of the last election with all this interference from Russia, like maybe they're just like Russians pretending to be my supporters to make me look bad." And
What?
it was yeah, it was a weird
That doesn't even
like
make sense.
yeah, no,
How
basically
about
like
how about posing the same question that was constantly? I mean, look, the left is constantly after Donald Trump. Do you distance yourself from David Duke? Do you distance yourself from what happened in Charlottesville? Well, Bernie, do you distance yourself from your militant, civil disobedient, civilly disobedient followers who are sparking civil unrest?
yeah, and that's the exact point. It's like if it's an issue, which it clearly is an issue, why not address it and just say like, "Hey, I don't support these type of actions, this is wrong. It shouldn't be happening. Hey, supporters, if you believe in my platform, like, stop it. Like, it's a pretty easy statement to make. Especially he could have made it during the debate, and he didn't. So, all right, guys, we're going to take our first break of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk about the accusations that were flying around candidate by candidate. I think it's pretty important to talk about this because there's definitely some double standards going on. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
Tom Walls started in 1955. Since then, America has been through wars, natural disasters, and economic highs and lows. Rochester companies have had their ups and downs, but one constant, Tom Walls. Tom Walls has stood the test of time. A Wahlburger and a frosted mug of root beer on a sunny afternoon brings us closer to our past and reminds us of what is good. My name is Riley. I am Tom Walls.
Share the good times. Tom Walls.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We're talking about the most recent Democratic debate in Vegas, and just kind of giving you guys my opinions, my thoughts on this. I think it's worth discussing. Even if you don't plan on voting in the Democratic primary, you'd have to obviously be registered Democrat to do so, and my guess is most of you aren't. I'll just throw that out there. But there are some of you that are. I know actually there's a lot of listeners that listen to the show that say, hey, Andrew, I don't necessarily align with the Democrat Party. However, I feel like in my district, a lot of times those are the only people who are running. Therefore, I'm registered as a Democrat so I can participate in the primaries to have some say. I understand that. That's fine. And then there's other people who say, no, I'm a Democrat. I'm a liberty-leaning Democrat. That's great too. I think everybody should just know what's going on. And the first thing that I see here in this debate is, besides the entertainment value, I think it was actually entertaining. It was interesting to hear the candidates banter back and forth. But something that's really highlighted throughout this debate is how bad the two-party system truly is for our country. And the reason I say that is the candidates who are running with a us versus them mentality. They're not running based on the policies that they're going to put forth. They don't even need to have good policies to put forward. They're running with this idea that vote for me because I can beat Donald Trump. Not vote for me because my health care plan is actually good, or I'm good on taxes, or I'm good on Second Amendment, or any other issue. Vote for me because I can beat Donald Trump. And the thing is, when we have Republican candidates, it's the same thing. Vote for me because I can beat whoever the Democrat is in power. So it's not actually based on who's a good candidate. It's just based on like who can maybe be popular enough to beat the incumbent, and whatever their policies are, who cares as long as it's not the other guy, right? Um, so for me, that's a big issue because we wouldn't have this problem, or if we did have this problem, it would be minimized significantly if we had more than two contenders, more than two parties. And I'm not saying three is the right answer. Maybe it's four, maybe it's five. Um, where you actually get people who say, you know, here's a solution and it's a good one. And people have the opportunity to look at that and go, huh, yeah, you know what? That is a good solution. Because right now we have this thing where it's like vote for the lesser of two evils, and I kind of preface it this way. People look at it as there's only two contenders, and one is just so much worse than the other that you have to compromise on your other ideals and vote for the other one. They kind of sit there saying things like, well, yeah, it's true. I killed four guys, but the other guy killed seven. So vote for me because I only killed four. Once you bring in other parties, other contenders, they can say, "Hey, what? We're talking about who's worse at murder? Like, how about I didn't kill anybody and I have some policies here. Let's talk about those." So that was probably the first thing I noticed in the Democratic debate is it's more of like who's the least worst and best equipped to beat Trump, not who has good policies.
Got
And
to
it'll be
diagram that sentence. Least worst and best equipped.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's about how easy it was to follow too, if I'm being honest here. Um, so I like to bring that issue to front because I think this is something we see constantly, and it's on both sides. Like, it's not strictly a Democrat thing, it's not strictly a Republican thing. And I don't know if just having one additional contending party fixes that. I don't know if three is the right answer. I don't know if five is the right answer. But I know that having competition is the right answer.
Well, I know what your reaction is going to be to this, but I'm kind of like agnostic when it comes to political parties. To be honest with you, I look at the candidate.
Yeah, no, and that's why I think it's so important. Listen, when the SAFE Act passed, I was Republican all the way, right? I thought the Republicans were gonna be the answer to my issues, and then I got pretty involved with the Republican Party and found that I wasn't right with that statement. I found that there were Republicans that were totally pro gun control and Democrats that were totally pro Second Amendment and totally opposed to gun control.
Right.
And that there were a lot of other issues other than gun control too, like and sometimes I was 100% on board with the Republican position. Other times I was totally on board with the Democrat position, and then a lot of times I wasn't on board with either of their positions, and I thought that there would be something better in between. So yeah, I'm with you 100%. For me, it's not about the party; it's really about the person. I think that parties really cloud our ability to choose based on person because it allows you to assume and project your beliefs on somebody who might not have them based on party affiliation. And it puts people in that us versus them mentality, which I think is just really bad for our country. So let's start talking about some of the candidates, though. Let's talk about the two front runners, because they are the ones that took the abuse, if you will, in the first hour. and I gotta say, some of it was funny, some of it was like not great either, you know. So let's start with Bloomberg because the accusations that the Democrats made against Bloomberg, they they sound pretty familiar. So we'll break them down. They called him racist a whole bunch, a misogynist, a billionaire out of touch. Started getting upset about the fact that he hasn't released his tax returns. Is this sounding familiar, Bob? Does this
Yeah.
sound?
Well, again, the tax return issue for billionaires is not going to be an illuminating issue for anyone. And I think the people who are pushing that inquiry know that. What they're looking for is just ammunition to dig up to throw against Bloomberg and Trump. And I think they're right to resist it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, the thing about tax returns is it's kind of, I don't know that there's anything that you're going to find in anybody's tax returns that shows that they're qualified to run the country. And I could be wrong with that, and I'd be open to anybody, giving me a different perspective on that. I care a lot more about how you're going to address our healthcare problems in this country, how you're going to protect my rights and make government smaller, than I care about what your tax return looks like.
Right, and the implication is obvious. It's that you're trying to hide something. And look, if the tax returns passed muster, if the IRS thought they were all right, I guess they're all right.
Yeah, yeah.
From a regulatory
absolutely.
viewpoint, I'm saying.
Yeah, and that to me is certainly like what they're doing by saying you haven't released your tax returns, which of course Bloomberg is saying, oh, I will release my tax returns, they're just not ready yet. I believe all they're trying to do is associate Bloomberg with Trump and tell people like, hey, like this is just Trump for the Democrats. Look, he's doing all these Trump things, and build distrust.
Yeah, truthfully, Bloomberg, considering his constituency, has a real problem there. The man's worth $66 billion.
Yeah,
And this is a confiscatory party that believes in communism these days, and is constantly sounding off on the evils of capitalism. So where's Bloomberg going?
Yeah, no, for sure. But they're all scared of him, and it's pretty obvious.
Well, yeah, because he tells, in the blind squirrel every once in a while, catches a nut department. He does tell the truth about communism.
Yeah, no, he does, and he some of his speaking was actually some decent entertainment value because he seems pretty cut and to the point, and he just tells people when they're wrong. And I think that in terms of politics, people welcome that. However, some of the things that he was accused of are pretty serious things for the Democrat Party, and there's actually some stuff there. Like they brought up stop and frisk, which was a pretty bad thing on his record, and him making statements like, minorities shouldn't have guns. Like things like that are like that's a pretty big issue for the Democratic Party, and I think anybody, it's not just Democrats. But
and all
now
these
he's trying to speak
on all
to
these issues,
Democrats.
I encourage everybody to go to the Federalist. Go to just do a quick search on the Federalist. What so God made a Bloomberg is the paraphrasing the Paul Harvey. So God made a farmer, which was this was a kind of a satire piece that was put out after Bloomberg's statements about farmers were released last week. So the Federalists put out this, so God made a Bloomberg. It's hilarious.
Is it? Okay, yeah, I haven't heard it yet. I'll have to check it out.
I'll grab a couple samples and lay them on your next segment, but it's very funny. And it's also very telling about, look, Bloomberg is a really dangerous elitist. In his own way, he's as dangerous as Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, and I think that's what the other candidates were really trying to push is like, you can't trust this guy. He's out of touch. He's Trump-like. He's a billionaire. Bad news. So when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about the attacks on Bernie. Man, there were some good ones. We'll be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
more than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. Tonight, increasing clouds out there, temps in the 30s. Tuesday, a couple of rain or wet snow showers, temps in the 30s to near 40. Tuesday night, early Wednesday, could be a bit of wet snow, maybe a little light slushy accumulation. That'll quickly go over to plain rain as temps soar well into the 40s on Wednesday. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
WYSL.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then painin' from tractor back put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk. Somebody who'd bale a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing. Who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
The proceeding courtesy of Genesee Valley Ford in Avon.
Abortion in the U.S. is down 19% since 2011. Pro-life people see the decline as success, but demographer Dennis Howard from a Movement for a Better America warns that abortion itself may be partially to blame for the nation's decline in abortion. It is called the abortion echo effect. Simply put, Howard says, the 63 million babies we aborted are no longer around to have babies in this generation, and that will echo down through future generations. The abortion echo effect has had a disproportional impact on the Black community, hollowing out a full 40% of its entire population. It has been said, whoever saves one life saves the entire world. In light of the abortion echo effect, could the opposite be true too? This Real Abortion News Update is sponsored by Compass Care. For a full transcript, go to realabortionnews.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
WYSL.
The Scope Monroe County membership meeting is Tuesday, February 25th at 7 p.m. at the Elks Club, 3525 East Henrietta Road. A reminder from Scope, defending your Second Amendment rights. Visit scopeny2a.org.
Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten-Free Bakery in Avon has it all. Specialty pizzas, hand-breaded mozzarella sticks, onion rings, skillet meals, even hamburgers and panini sandwiches, along with a full gluten-free menu. Take the family to Livingston County Pizza, where everyone can have their favorite.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
So Sean Davis, the co-founder of The Federalist, wrote this piece. On the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a tiny soulless technocrat to tell everyone else how to live their lives, so God made a Bloomberg. I need somebody with hands strong enough to carry a stool and a booster seat wherever he goes, but gentle enough to sign the voter registration papers as a Democrat, then a Republican, then an independent, then a Democrat again. Somebody who would tell a female employee to kill her own baby so she could work longer hours, a grieving family that it's a waste to give medical care to old people, or a farmer that growing food is easy and any idiot with half a brain could manage it. Someone who could tell a mother that parenting was as simple as hiring, quote, some black who doesn't have to speak English to raise her dumb kid. So God made a Bloomberg. And it goes on like that. Hilarious stuff.
There you go. Yeah, no, yeah, and that's in line with the attacks that were pointed at him by the other candidates, and I'm sure there's much more, right, for sure. But they're definitely, firing at him as out of touch, a billionaire, somebody who's hiding things, a racist, like all of that is certainly, was a fair amount of content, going through this debate. Bernie was the one who got probably just as much, if not more, attacks during the debate.
I'm pulling for him to be the nominee. First of all,
sure.
You know what? Because he deserves it. We hear this all the time. It's somebody's turn. It really is Bernie's turn because he got screwed out of it by Hillary last time, and the Democrats, and you know that they're scheming to try to do it again this time.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. So some of the attacks that came out, some were just based on his health. Like, there were questions about, are you lying about your health? Are you being transparent? You said you were going to be transparent. You haven't released your health records. And, so of course the attack being like Bernie is, I think, the oldest candidate in suggesting that he's going to die if elected president, and trying to like shake things there, make that look shaky.
Actually, he's not the oldest candidate. Bloomberg is older.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
he's like a year older than Bernie.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's certainly not how it was being insinuated. So I wasn't aware of that.
And by the way, I mean you saw the debates. I don't think that Bloomberg looks good.
He looked pretty well put together, to be honest. I
Really?
mean, he did.
I
Yeah,
didn't think so.
And I'll be honest too. Bernie cleaned up a little bit. He I think trimmed some of his hairs that were flying all over. Like he didn't look well put together, but it was probably the most put together I had ever seen him.
Doesn't he still have the bozo hair though?
He does, but it's like cleaned up a little bit. It's not like great, but it's tightened up. Like it seems that the campaign is paying a little more attention to his appearance. But I think they don't want to clean him up too much because if they do, then he looks like one of those political elites that he's like running against.
No, I don't think there's any imminent danger of Bernie looking like one of the Jonas Brothers. So, especially with that posture, as Dana Lash here on our flagship station said so appropriately, he has the posture of cocktail shrimp.
Yeah, well, and it looks like he's either trying to stand taller or he had a stool. I'm not sure what, but he did look taller in the debate. So I don't know. They're certainly working on his image. At least that was my perception while I watched the debate. So we talked about, like they were kind of talking about his health, his lack of transparency. We talked earlier in the show, there were a lot of attacks about how aggressive and even violent his supporters are and how that's like a reflection of his leadership. And probably some of the best attacks were definitely on his healthcare plan and how he is possibly going to pay for it and how he keeps saying that nobody actually knows how much it's going to cost. That's a huge issue. Like, if nobody knows what your policies are going to cost, that is definitely a problem. Outside of that, there was some good kind of redirects back to Bernie, mostly by Bloomberg, where Bernie would say things like, these wealthy elites, we need to change the tax code because they're getting these tax rates and all this stuff, kind of like typical Bernie, um, content. And Bloomberg just kind of raises his hand and says, Bernie, you voted for these. Like, you passed these. Like, what are you complaining about? These are your plans. And it was the type of redirects that I wish we saw more often in politics, where we have these elected officials who have been sitting here for 30, 40 years in the same seat, complaining about needing to make change when they keep voting for the same status quo, and then pointing at everybody else and saying, hey, we need to fix this. And it's like, no, like, you're the one creating the problem. So I appreciated that anyways. And I would challenge everybody to do the same with your local elected officials, countywide, statewide, everywhere. Regardless if they're on your team or not, if they say, like, hey, we need to fix this problem, don't be afraid to point out and say, you mean the problem you created by voting for this and making more government? Like, you want me to re-elect you to fix the problem you created? I don't know. It seems like a bad idea to me.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think that you look at the approval ratings, if you can call them that, of Congress and of public officials in general. I think that the public has come down on the side of I think the light is on. They realize that they're getting a very bad bargain for what they're spending for government. And the government is completely out of control. They just don't know what to do about it. And the major culprit that is placing an obstacle in the way of change are political parties.
Yeah. Sounds like we've got a caller on the line. We've got Eric from Rochester. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hello again. Thank you. I'm cruising around on Facebook, and I noticed on Facebook there's been some interesting postings for endorsements. Clint Eastwood has come out for Mike Bloomberg, which I think is really weird, but whatever. And Dick Van Dyke has come out for Bernie.
Well, the Van Dyke endorsement doesn't surprise me.
I was disappointed in Eastwood because he always struck me as being having his head on firmly and being practical. And part of the endorsement included a statement about how he wishes Trump was more genteel. I'm just like, okay, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, genteel. You know something? I'm not so concerned about style. I'm concerned about substance and what Mike Bloomberg stands for, and also his lack of conviction. He's a total control freak and an elitist.
I just think it's the more genteel thing is weird. I mean, you can argue about how Trump needs to, maybe kind of edit himself a little bit on tweets and stuff. Okay, fine, whatever. But genteel doesn't describe Mike Bloomberg's policies and preferences.
Exactly.
I mean, what he wants to do. I mean, that's not. None of a lot of stuff he does is genteel. I just thought that was weird.
Yeah, no, and I would add into this too. I mean, in regards of what you're saying, Bob, about how Bloomberg is like an elitist and a control freak. I mean, he literally, while he was talking, I think Joe Biden, interrupted him, and you can think whatever you want about Joe Biden, but he was the vice president of the United States, right? So for a lot of people, that commands like a little bit of authority and respect. And Bloomberg was just like, let me finish talking. And Biden just kind of like shut up. Like it was like, wow, this guy just like told Joe Biden to shut up, and he listened. Like he didn't fight or anything. He just sat there like a quiet schoolgirl afterwards. Which to me was really interesting that happened. And like nobody really gave it a blink or anything. And like any other time, like people would interrupt each other, fight, banter back and forth, but not in that instance. So that to me was like, wow, this guy clearly is an elite, and people know it. All right, guys, you're listening to Radio Free New York. When we come back, I'm going to tell you who I like the most in the Democratic debate. And say just like the most. So we'll talk about that when we get back on Radio Free New York.
Hey, by the way, if you're out in Wayne County, you're listening to us on 1420 or 96.9, give WACK a call and tell them thanks for carrying the program. We'll be back.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Human trafficking is when someone is being forced, tricked, or coerced to engage in a sex trade or forced labor. If you're a kid and forced to sell sex, drugs, or work against your will, that's trafficking. You're not a criminal, and there is help available. Call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 888-373-7888 or text Be Free. Sponsored by the Livingston County Safe Harbors Human Trafficking Task Force.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. We're talking about the Vegas Democratic debate, and I'm going to share with you guys who so far the one that the candidate that I appreciate the most, I guess, is the best way to say it, and that is Buttigieg. And I'll tell you why. He seems to be the only voice of reason up there.
Ugh,
now I could be wrong. You know, I don't know much about his policies, but he's constantly telling people like, "You guys are nuts," you know. And I guess it's just nice to have somebody up there who's saying that. So one of his probably biggest talking point that I think any of us could take in and appreciate is just that we don't need any more polarization in politics, and we need to focus on having Americans come together and work together for a common goal. So I think that's a good statement. I don't think you need to be a Democrat or a Republican to say that. I think that anybody can say that, everybody should say that, and that's something we should all be working on together. So that's my piece on him. He seems to be, at least on the debate stage, more level-headed. I haven't read his policies yet, Bob. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Well, I'm trying to find some of his He's definitely progressive. I mean, he's way off the scar. But the problem is I can't spell his last name, so I'm having trouble doing the search here while I'm talking to you. But he's got a real problem with blacks. He actually, curiously, has a problem with gays.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, here's one from The Atlantic. Why young progressives don't like Pete Buttigieg. They've called him the most obnoxious type of millennial, a boomer wrapped up in a millennial's clothing, Build-A-Bear for middling Democrats. That's funny. A candidate seemingly dreamed up by some DNC algorithm, a baggie full of uncut special interest talking points. Yeah, so he's got some issues, I think.
Yeah. So he's not well liked, I guess. But, in terms of what was up there, I just love the fact that he went to Bernie and said, hey, Bernie, there's no way you can pay for this. And like the Democratic Party has already taken away people's healthcare providers. Why are we talking about doing it again?
Yeah,
that was a
exactly.
mistake. We shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, just some of his among his souvenirs. Buttigieg is in favor of abolition of the Electoral College. He supports public health insurance options with individual mandate. He's just an ardent supporter of labor unions. Universal background checks for gun purchases. Obviously hasn't heard about NICS. Protecting the environment by addressing climate change. You know what that is. A pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. Overturn Citizens United. And passing a federal law prohibiting discrimination against LGBTQ, which I thought was already the case.
Yeah, I definitely think we've got, what is it? That's Genda, right? Didn't Genda get passed? I could have sworn it did. I'll have to check that out for another show. But yeah, so he seemed to be a voice of reason. His policies may not reflect that, but at the very least,
Well, stylistically, I agree with you. I mean, I think he's a really good politician in that he's great at, he's an appealing candidate for people who he would appeal to, I think.
Sure.
And he knows how to say all the right things. And the most dangerous politicians are really good at that. Adolf Hitler comes to mind. Sorry about Godwin's Law. I know I violated it. But, I mean, that's the ultimate example of it, is it not?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I'll move on to Warren and just give her like 2 sentences. I don't think she said a single bit of policy up there. I think she just went on long tangents constantly about general topics and pulled on people's heartstrings, but never once gave a shred of policy at all.
She's dead in the water. She's
I
going
think
nowhere.
so. I can't imagine her lasting.
Too many lies. It's, there's no credibility there.
No. So the other thing that was interesting to me, being a small business owner and somebody who truly believes that small businesses are the backbone of our economy, they actually talked about like taxes on the middle class and small businesses. Of course, they were all accusing each other of each other's plans hurting the middle class and hurting small businesses. And Warren did suggest that it's harder for minorities to start small businesses because they're at a disadvantage. However, nobody addressed that those disadvantages are created by government regulations, and it's red tape that makes it hard for not just anybody to start a small business, but especially the people who are poorer, who can't afford a business license, for $2,000 to get started and that sort of thing. So they certainly talked about things that we know are true, like government regulations and taxes making it hard for people to start small businesses, but not a single one of these candidates said, yeah, you know how we're going to fix that? By eliminating unnecessary regulations, by making sure that there aren't like taxes that really hurt small businesses and the middle class. They all just said they wouldn't raise taxes.
I was going to say, Andrew, did you forget you were watching a Democrat debate?
No, not at all. I just want to point it out. I think it's important to for anybody who's listening to hear that distinction. Nobody said they were going to fix the problem. They just said that they're not going to make it worse. And I think that's important, no matter who you're listening to, that you can make that distinction.
Let's close the circle on that. Boy, there's somebody who's really great at sales. Hey, everything in the country sucks. Everything's got to be changed. We got to rebuild everything from the ground up. So we're not going to change anything. We're not going to make anything worse. Vote for me.
Yep. No, absolutely. Once again, their sales pitch is not, it will be better. Their sales pitch is, I'm going to beat Donald Trump. So, yeah, and this is a problem when you have a two-party system. They don't have to be better. They just have to say they're not going to be worse. And then their team votes for them, the other team votes for the other guy, and that's just how it goes. I do want to bring to light maybe the most entertaining part of this debate, which was Senator Amy Klobuchar, who I haven't really talked much about because there's just not much to say. I think she's another candidate that's going to disappear pretty quickly. Once they started getting deep on some of the issues like healthcare and businesses and taxes, and it was her turn to talk about it, you know what she said? You know what we haven't talked about enough in this debate is Donald Trump. So I was just like, wow, you're not even, you have no substance, because you should be taking this opportunity to just show how different you are and how you can make people's lives better.
Well, they aren't. And they can't.
Sure,
they have no ideas. They have no ideas. None.
Yeah.
Medicare for all? Excuse me. We can't pay for Medicare for some. So how are we going to pay for Medicare for all? Look, they could not even get Obamacare done.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I thought it was just so bold and so blatant when prompted for policy. The redirect was, oh, we haven't talked about Donald Trump enough. Like, can we switch the subject to him?
It's ridiculous. Because that's the only way that they can score anything. Because, there are people out there who don't like Donald Trump. So, wow. It's such an intellectually lazy approach. And it's cynical. Because they're fully aware of the fact that they do not have any ideas that work. And they're at a loss to come up with ideas that would appeal to the American public. So what we'll do is we'll try to score on Donald Trump. Give me a break. That's leadership?
And that's just it, So I just was surprised, I guess, that was the response from a presidential candidate on the stage.
The truth be told, Andrew, I don't know where they're going. I mean, I don't know what options that they have at this juncture. Probably just run with Bernie Sanders, get your butt beat, and focus on 2024.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say, though, that, because I know we're almost out of time, they were both wrong and right about taxes. They were right that taxes are applied unequally. They're totally wrong on how they were going to fix that, with some sort of weird progressive tax system. I'm just going to throw this out there, and we can, of course, talk about it in depth in another show. But definitely, if we move to a flat tax or a simple tax code, we could fix these issues without needing some weird sliding scale, progressive, this or that jumbling tax system. It's just going to add confusion and more loopholes.
I totally agree. I would counsel caution when it comes to, like a VAT tax, because every European country that enacted a VAT tax instead of a income tax wound up with both. So watch out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when I say a flat tax, maybe a flat tax on income, not necessarily VAT. Guys, thank you for listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to be back tomorrow with Kevin Wilson doing our Talk of the Town on Tuesday. I'll catch you guys then.
It's a great time to shop.